So, Joe Tacopina, thank you very much for your time. If I can start, please, with first question on your legal case with former President Donald Trump. You recently withdrew from the case. Would you mind just saying what made this decision, or how hard was it to make this decision?
It's a personal decision, really. It's for reasons that I'm going to keep to myself. It's not really appropriate. It's not right for lawyers who withdraw from representation to then comment on their former clients. I've seen a lot of President Trump's ex-attorneys go on television and talk negatively about him, or negatively about other members of the team, or negatively about his advisors. I don't think it's appropriate. When you represent someone as a lawyer, you have an attorney-client fiduciary relationship, and that fiduciary relationship does not end when you stop representing someone. So I choose not to go into my personal reasons, but there were things that just made me feel that it was my time to
Mhm.
go, and I chose that.
Was it a hard decision, and would you rejoin maybe potentially?
No, I won't rejoin. That's for sure. I made a decision. Once I make a decision, I stick with that decision. Was it a hard decision? I mean, sure. In some ways, yes. In some ways, it was sort of natural um, for a host of reasons, but it seems very mysterious. But it's really not. Just I had my own reasons, and there were important reasons to me that made me feel that was the right decision. That's all.
Thank you. And of course, there were a lot of politics involved in this case. You went through many cases in your past. I suppose this one is maybe the most political one you
Oh,
ever had. How do you think is it different when so much is at stake, and you have a former president who is actually probably going to be again becoming a president? How hard or different it is?
oh, there's been no case like this. Not only for me, that's for sure for me, but for anyone else in the history of this country. Part of this was the excitement of being part of something very historical, very groundbreaking. But we've never seen cases with political ramifications like this, cases that were politically motivated like this. So there were. This is certainly, I think, you know, once in a lifetime type of case. I hope, because this country cannot withstand this going forward, where everything is political and everything's an attack on both sides of the aisle. And it sort of gets in the way of us honestly being an effective democracy. And I think we've suffered a bit because of all the back and forth and the so it's this has been nothing like this in my life, clearly. And I don't think we've ever seen anything like this or anything close to this, and then hopefully we won't again.
And what do you make of the US judicial system? You just mentioned that it's a rare case, and we are seeing sort of a witch hunt, as some call it. What does it say of the judicial system?
You know, you don't want to ever get to the point where we're politicizing the judicial system, where we're using um, the judicial system as a weapon, right? Because once you start doing that, then it breaks. The great part of our judicial system for the longest time is that it's sort of an independent body. The judiciary is independent from the executive branch or from the legislative branch. And that's what keeps our country moving and keeps it strong and keeps it, keep democracy alive. So when you have the judicial system being affected by politics, it's not a healthy mix. It's a very dangerous elixir. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing here. We have that here. And regardless of whether you support Trump or don't support Trump, I don't think there's any doubt that there's a lot of politics behind
Mhm.
this atmosphere and all these legal matters. One way or another, it's a byproduct of
Mhm.
a former president being charged with four different indictments.
Mhm.
So it's a very difficult time for this country.
And do you think he will serve as unfortunately, as a precedent for, opening the door for this kind of behavior, or will it serve more as a warning? This will never happen again.
Hopefully, look, again, I don't want to opine on the cases. Hopefully, it serves as a bit of a deterrent, um, because it's not healthy for this country. If we're now going to have, you know, sitting presidents going after political opponents, if that becomes the new norm, and I'm not saying I'm not opining on whether it's happened here or not. I'm not saying Joe Biden's gone after Donald Trump or vice versa or whatever. It's just that's the impression a lot of people have, and so once you have that, you lose faith in the justice system, and you think the justice system. I've had many people, and I'm not talking about people who are uneducated people. I'm talking about smart people who actually think that the justice system has been weaponized, and that's a bad, bad feeling to have when you're supposed to live in the most free country in this world. So it's not a good look.
Thank you. And now, if I may, what chances are, if you can tell as a now independent lawyer, what chances are that he may get imprisoned? You just mentioned there are 4 cases.
Mhm.
What do you think?
What I think is what I said on Reverend Sharpton's show, which is, and then people mistook that for me opining that he will get convicted. No, there is when you face a jury, okay, in 4 different states, you don't know what the results are going to be. You can be the best lawyer in the world, and all those things are great, but at the end of the day, a jury of 12 gets to decide, right? And you don't know if there's going to be a conviction, an acquittal, or a hung jury where they can't decide. So all those things are open for possibility. So you have to not exclude the possibility that there will be a conviction in one of these cases. And with that comes potential punishment, including jail time. But that's a possibility. I'm not saying it's likely to happen or not likely to happen. It's just a possibility. There are 4 cases. There are going to be 4 trials with 4 sets of juries, and you just don't know what the end result's going to be. So
But
it's all to be determined.
shouldn't one know looking at the facts? Just truth will
No,
prevail?
no, no. I mean, that would be then to say you have a crystal ball into every trial. I've tried over 115 jury trials in my life, both as a prosecutor and defense lawyer. And despite the facts that I know of going in, and I know them better than anyone because I'm the lawyer living with that, you still don't know what a jury is ultimately going to do, right? There's so many reasons a jury could vote one way or another way, personal issues in their own life that come into the courtroom that aren't supposed to, um, personal animus, personal bias, who knows? But the U.S. justice system is great. I think it's the best in the world, but it's not perfect. It's not it's not a computer science. It's people, and people have to come together and make a decision. So you can't say, oh yeah, with the evidence here. Look, I think with the evidence in the Stormy Daniels case in Manhattan, the one I was in no scenario should there be a criminal conviction in that case. But you don't know. Some jurors, New York is not a very popular state for former President Trump, right? So who knows if some jurors will look past holes where the evidence should be and say, I just don't like this guy. And, unfortunately, that's not the way it's supposed to be, but we live in reality.
I mean, which of the places are actually in favor of, Republicans? I mean, not many.
Florida. I'm Florida, right?
Florida,
I
and
mean,
then
good
Atlanta,
good trial in
no.
Texas. A good trial
Washington,
in
no.
Texas would be great. Yeah, right. Atlanta, no. Washington D.C., no. New York, no. So is it a coincidence that those are 3 of the 4
Yeah.
jurisdictions that he was charged in? I don't know. I think a cynic would say probably not.
Thank you. And which of them do you think is the most difficult ones to go through?
That's hard to say. Any of them, depending on the jury pool, right? I mean, you could say the New York one's a difficult one, even though on the facts it shouldn't be. But the New York jury pool is not a favorable one. So it's look, every one of these cases has defenses. Every one of these cases have prosecution points. That's otherwise it wouldn't be a trial. It's not hard to say which is the most difficult. I mean, if you look at venues, you could say DC is the toughest. Atlanta's maybe the second toughest. New York's right there. But you hope you can get people who put aside their personal opinions one way or another. You like them, you hate them, and just vote on the facts and the law because that's what we want juries to do. The rule of law rises above all of this other stuff. These personal feelings are not supposed to enter deliberations. Again, unfortunately, we're dealing with a situation where human beings are the arbiters of the facts, so it's difficult sometimes.
Thank you. And well, I guess you just answered that. Like, what are the real chances for him to lose and go to prison?
I
But
did just answer that. Yeah, so I could basically repeat that last answer. Just replay the tape.
I guess any percentages here
No,
or
I'm not Jim. I'm
probabilities?
not a bookmaker. I'm not an odds maker, and I can't lay odds on that. It's not like I could, the Super Bowl is 4.5 points for the 49ers. No, it's hard. And there's no. I'd be guessing, and I wouldn't be being responsible to guess because who
Mhm,
knows?
mhm. Okay. Thank you so much for your
You're
time.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was not painful, huh?
Mm.
It was quick.